Hi, dear Toastmasters, guests, and friends. Welcome to Toastmasters, the world's biggest platform to hone your leadership skills and communication skills. We are District 31 and we welcome you to our talk show, Open Heart with District 31. On this episode of our talk show, we have a former area director, a former division director, a Toastmaster who's a writer, author, and does a wonderful things and also works in information technology domain. Without any further ado, let me welcome a dedicated member of South Coast Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmaster Stephen Rogers onto our talk show. Toastmaster Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I am doing good. Toastmaster Stephen, I ask all my friends this one question. Your Toastmasters journey. Where did it start? How did it start? Would you like to share something about it?
Well, coincidentally, just about 7 years ago, I was preparing to go to a writers' conference where I had to pitch my book to agents and I had to talk with other writers who shared my passion for writing. And you'll notice that I said I had to do those things because to me, they were a chore. As much as I wanted to do them, I also did not want to do them. I had gone to many conferences over the years, and I tended to play the hermit. I walked around the halls with my heads low, turned down. I didn't really talk to people that I was sitting next to. Whenever people did talk to me, I sort of just bumbled through the answers, or I just froze and hoped that something would happen to distract them. When everybody gathered during the free periods, I would hang out in my room. There was one conference I actually hung out at a different hotel. Anyway, preparing as I was for this upcoming conference, I went to my local library and I was going to rewrite my pitch 100,000 more times during my lunch hour. And as soon as I walked in the door, there was a sign, Toastmasters meeting today. And I knew Toastmasters had something to do with public speaking. And that's what I was struggling with. So I went down the hall and I can't remember if the door was open or if I pushed it open a little, but there were these people holding a meeting. And there was a chair near the door. So I thought, I'll just slip in, sit in that chair. So I did. And I took in the meeting. And then as soon as the meeting ended, boom, I was gone. And I came back the next time, 2 weeks later. And that time I went into the bathroom and I waited for the meeting to start. And I kept pushing open the door. No, room's still quiet. Pushed open the door. No, the room's still quiet. Pushed open the door. They're meeting. I can go in. So I went in, snuck into a seat that was near the door, near the exit. And I just took it all in until the gavel came down with a boom. And then I was off like a shot. I was proud of myself that I had managed to attend these two meetings without saying a single word to everybody. Because that was how I got through life, by not having to interact. But eventually one time I slipped up and I spoke with a member and we talked about Toastmasters and I joined. I still came in late to the meetings and I tended to leave early. And it was 3 months before I finally got up the nerve to go up and do a table topics. I was standing behind the lectern and my hands were like white from how hard I was gripping the edges of that lectern. But I survived it. And a month later, I scheduled my icebreaker. Then a couple months after that club, we had member evaluation, so everyone could evaluate the speech. And it was like a sheet of paper cut into quarters that had probably been designed 130 years ago. And it was photocopies of photocopies, and some of the photocopy machines have been the cheap ones that you get at convenience stores, so it's sort of like grayish. And I think sometimes the glass was smeared, so they didn't really look very good. So I said to one of the members, Mark, by this time I had learned some member names because, I was sort of talking to them. And I said, I could design something differently that would like two-part so that they would be larger, would be a lot more space. You could write more things about the speaker and make more comments. And he said, sure, go ahead. So I did that. And then after a couple more months, they said, helping us with those member evaluation forms, that's sort of like helping with club supplies. Maybe you should be sergeant at arms. And I had no idea what that meant. And I said, oh, okay. I had done a few more meeting roles, so I felt comfortable doing sergeant at arms. Okay. And I found out it was like an elected position, but I got through the election, and then before I knew it, I was sergeant at arms. And that became my leadership journey within Toastmasters. And that summer I went to a TLI. And in the breakout room, a lot of people talked about all the benefits of joining a second club. And there are a lot of different things. What was most important to me was it allowed me to practice twice as much. So I then joined a second club and just continued Toastmastering.
Thank you.
But that's pretty much my journey.
Thank you for sharing that to us, Stephen. As I was hearing your story, two things came to my mind. You're one of the most entertaining speakers I've ever interviewed. Second, you're a wonderful storyteller. Your whole story you narrated so well that I was curious to know what is going to come, and you packed it with a lot of humor. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Now we move to our second segment, Stephen, is the impact of Toastmasters on your personal life, professional life, social life, spiritual life. Would you like to share something about that?
Certainly. So I mentioned that writing conference that I was going to be going to. And I hadn't been in Toastmasters long, like a month, when I went to that conference. So there wasn't quite a huge impact. But every year, I got more and more comfortable interacting with other people. And that allowed me to have more enjoyment of the conference and survive better the pitch sessions and the impromptu conversations in the hallways and talking with people at the different tables. So I told you what it was like for me for that first conference 7 years ago. The impact of Toastmasters on my life. Next year, I am co-chairing that conference. So that just shows what an impact Toastmasters had in terms of allowing me to build my self-confidence, work on my communication styles, work on my leadership ability, that the committee would reach out to me and say, you're the one we want in charge, which 7 years ago would have been extremely laughable, and now is just laughable.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmaster Stephen. That takes a lot. Like being a presenter at a conference versus being a co-chair, that journey itself, and Toastmasters helping you getting there, that is true testimony of Toastmasters. On that note, we move to a third segment. It is now, why should someone join Toastmasters? In your view, what would you say to our guests listening to the talk show? Why should they consider Toastmasters?
The thing about Toastmasters is that it's not only a self-paced journey, it's a self-designed journey. There are some people that want to work on their leadership skills. There are some people that want to work on getting comfortable with prepared speeches. And there are some people that just want to take part in the meeting roles and just want to do table topics. They're more interested in working on their social skills, especially as we move into like the holiday season, where, these are the things that are called upon. And the fact that what you can get out of Toastmasters is so malleable that it can be shaped to fit what your personal needs are. It's just an amazing program because you get out of it what you need to get out of it. So no matter where you are on whatever journey you're on, it can help you get to where you want to go.
Thank you, Toastmaster Stephen, for sharing that. That's such a valuable point we tend to forget is you can choose and design your own Toastmasters career. It is not Toastmaster Stephen's journey is this, Toastmaster Veera's journey is this, you need to follow. Each one has the freedom to choose their own pathways, and make the most of it. Thank you, Toastmaster Stephen. On this note, we are going to enter our fourth round, which is the rapid fire round. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions, Toastmaster Stephen?
Okay.
Toastmaster Stephen, a historic leader that inspires you a lot, a historic leader that you take a lot of inspiration from.
Any leader that leads. We tend to separate leadership and communication, but they're so entwined. Whenever people ask me about leaders, I always think about great speakers, because part of the fact that they are great speakers allows them to become inspiring leaders. And chances are people that can put together a great speech that's organized and meaningful, they can organize other parts of their life that allows them to lead. So when I think of great leaders, I think of, the great speakers, the Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, Martin Luther King Jr., people that just can change the world with their words as well as their actions and inspire others to also change the world.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Stephen. A historic speech that is close to your heart, any speech that comes to your mind?
Well, one speech that I always find inspiring is not even the full speech, but just we have nothing to fear but fear itself, which I think so much summarizes our struggles upon most of our journeys. It's we're afraid of taking the next step. We're afraid of letting people into our lives. We're afraid of trying new things. And it's not all the things that we're afraid of that are the problem. It's the things that we're afraid of that are the problem. And that's one of the things with Toastmasters, it's a safe and supportive environment to practice those things. And you can do things like at club meetings or as an officer. And then once you're built up some self-confidence, then you can take those skills out into the world and try them at work or at home or in your hobbies.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmaster Stephen. Toastmaster Stephen, we know that you're a writer and author. Your personal favorite book that you like to recommend, a book that you've written that you like to recommend to our audience?
A longtime favorite, it's a science fiction dystopia, Lucifer's Hammer. It's about a comet hits the Earth and destroys things. Because what it does is it forces people to become leaders. They have no choice. If you want to survive, you have to either become a leader or find a leader that you can trust to follow. And so I find that an inspiring story. And it's interesting to see all the different ways that the different people in the book lead and the different ways that different people in the book follow and support their leaders, because there's 100 million ways to do any of this.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll check that book out. Your personal favorite speech, Toastmaster Stephen, when you delivered it yourself, I did a great job. Any speech that comes to your mind?
No, because I try not to listen to my speeches. The speeches that I remember the most are the ones that I really went out on a limb. There was in the Competent Communicator Manual, of which obviously I'm not, there was a speech on giving instructions how to do something. And it would have been very easy to give instructions on, I don't know, how to ride a bike or how to play tennis. And for some reason, I had the idea, I know, I'll give a speech about someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, who bumbles through it all, who drops things and makes mistakes in the instructions. And they're also an instructor on how to defuse bombs. So I actually made a fake set of dynamite things, and then I put a timer on my laptop that was counting down throughout the speech. And I borrowed a bulky suit from a Taekwondo instructor. And I gave my speech as this instructor, trying to instruct the students how to defuse a bomb and getting it wrong at every possible moment. And it was interesting to watch, the people in the room moving further and further away as if this was actually happening. It's like, oh wow, that's funny. But that was a fun speech to give. Whether I did it well, who knows?
No, I think you put in
But I had fun.
You put in a lot of effort,
Yeah.
all that hard, all the effort that you've taken, and that is definitely memorable. I would definitely wanted to be an audience for that. So, Stephen, now, food that is very close to your palate. You would always like to eat the food, a comfort food, anything that comes to your mind.
I love nachos. Every Sunday night, I make a cookie sheet of nachos, various toppings. I love the combinations of the different flavors, the different temperatures, because the tomato goes on later. So anyway, I love nachos.
Perfect choice. We will definitely try that. So, Stephen, a favorite restaurant that you like to go out and spend some good time?
Probably right now it's the 110 Grill. I actually have celiac, so I have to eat gluten-free. So that's a chain that they handle the gluten-free very well. But there's that.
Thank you for sharing that. Anything else that you like to share with our audience, Stephen?
That this is your life. The one life you're going to have, probably. Who knows what scientific, things are going to be in the future. So wring the most out of it that you can. Take the risks. And Toastmasters gives you a safe place to try those things, whether or not you then take them out into the quote unquote real world. But mostly just have fun. Why not?
Thank you for sharing that, Stephen. It's one life and make it count. Thank you for being on a talk show. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you choose to come down and talk to us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Stephen.
Thank you.
Dear Toastmasters, that was our wonderful Toastmaster Stephen, sharing about his Toastmasters journey, sharing about his writing experiences, sharing about his wonderful leaders that inspired him and the food that he likes. If you would like to come and talk to us, please do mention your name in our comment section and we will try to reach you out. Please do support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. I am Veera Sriram, your public relations manager. Until our next episode, please do stay safe, stay warm, and we will talk to you soon. Until then, bye-bye.